In this video, we're going to talk about stereo width or stereo image. This is the part of the production process that deals with the relationship of sounds in the stereophonic field from left to right. Sometimes we work with single stereo sounds that are spread across the entire stereo field, and other times we adjust this for contrast or effect. In this mix here, and typical of a lot of dance music, a lot of the drum information is focused in the center channel, with additional percussion elements spread more to the left and right. The bass is in the center, with only the main synth sound and some auto panning effects being panned to the extreme of left and right. This contrast adds to the stereo width of the information that is panned to the extreme. So what we're hearing is the interplay between the monophonic sources combined with stereo panned instruments. In this way we can give focus and balance to instruments in terms of frequency and amplitude. Creating a mix that is super wide is not always the goal, as we heard in this track. Certain genres and tempos require a more monofocused approach. So in this video we're going to look at some techniques to manipulate and enhance stereo width from left to right image, and also depth, the front to back image. In the previous video we looked at how panning can help place sounds in the stereo field by adjusting the left to right amplitude relationship. The next effect uses the other cue that we use to localize sound, timing information. Using an effect known as the Haas effect and affecting the timing in milliseconds or samples of one of the channels alters the perception or directionality of that channel. Using a time delay from 1 to around 35 milliseconds, we can alter the location of a source sound. These two cues, level and amplitude, can create very realistic stereophonic movement. Monocompatibility can be affected, so you need to keep that in mind. So in the first example here, we'll use the synth sound from our previous video, which is already panned hard left and hard right. But I can enhance this even further by delaying one of the tracks between 1 and 35 milliseconds. So to do this, in most DAWs you have a function to delay the actual track in Ableton. I have it here in track delay. Or you can also use plugins like this free device from Voxengo, which allows you to dial in offsets in milliseconds and samples. So when I'm playing this sound, if I type in, say, something like 20 milliseconds to the right channel, the right channel is now arriving later to our right ear, and as a result the sound is more spacious, but also the perception is that it's panned a bit more to one side. If I go even further, type in 30, it's getting even wider, 35. Depending on the sound and the part that it's playing, beyond around 30 milliseconds can start to be perceived as an echo. If I go to 40, we can start to hear distinct echoes, and that's not the desired effect. So I'll bring it back in. I'll do the same with the plugin. I'll dial in 20. I'll turn the plugin on. So you can hear that it's enhancing the stereo width even further. But again, to be aware, when anytime you're manipulating this, you can introduce phase offsets. So if I check my monocompatibility, turn on my utility, I can hear the result of what we've done. A lot of comb filtering and phase cancellation. When it's in mono, I can go back to my plugin. And now that's, because this is in the 10 category, this is 10 milliseconds delay. We're getting less comb filtering, less phase cancellation. And maybe that might be a bit more acceptable. There's still a lot of cancellation. And whether this is an issue depends on the medium and location where the music is going to be played back. So in that example, because the pan control is adjusting the amplitude offset, and now we're introducing a timing offset, these two cues can create a more realistic panning effect. We can build more body and width into the sound if we feed some of the left output into the right channel and some of the right output into the left channel. In order to do this, I'm going to send the signal to a couple of buses. So this one is going to the second bus, and this one is going to the third bus. So we got our returns over here. I've set these up as pre-fade so I can bring down my channels and turn on the returns. So when I play it back, what I can now do is take some of the return from the second channel and feed it back into the first channel, and some of the first channel and feed it into the second channel. So I've got this set up as a shortcut. That can also help a bit with any phase cancellation, but there still will be some. So the timing offset by itself can also be used to affect panning. If I go back to my original setup, turn off these returns. So these two sounds are not panned, but by only adjusting the track delay on one of the channels, I can affect the stereo width. See at 20 milliseconds there, we're starting to hear an echo. So I'm going to dial it back a bit. And then I can also affect the amplitude with pan. Other ways of introducing timing offsets that we may be already familiar with are things like tempo delays. So I've panned the sound hard left and right. I'll turn off any track delays that I have. So in this channel here, the mix of these two, I'm going to send it to a return track that has a tempo delay on it. And if you look at the setup on this effect, I have a simple delay and have the timing of this delay being offset with an LFO device. There is various modulation delay effects available with a modulation ability built in, but I'm using this configuration here with a simple delay and some Max for Live LFOs. So when I'm playing back this sound, the left side has been delayed by a certain amount and that amount has been modulated, same as the right hand side. So when I play it back, so we're getting movement in the stereo field due to the modulation of the tempo. So this is a pre-send, so I can pull this down and listen to just the effect. So I can hear the movement in the sound, in the extremes of left and right, and then bring the dry signal back in. Feedback is all the way down, so we're just getting single echoes, so the mix is not getting cluttered with extra echoes. So you can use a combination of effects to create syncopated rhythms, even using ping pong delays, and combine that with auto pan effects. Another method for achieving stereo width is using mono sounds with mono effects panned to different locations. So in this track here I have a synth part, which has been sent to this mono effect over here. Touch of chorus, touch of reverb, and that effect is going to be panned to the right hand side. So now what I can do is that I can pan this one to the left. That's the original, that's the effect. And I don't necessarily have them panned fully extreme, hard left and hard right. I can alter the balance to suit me. Working this way, you're also not cluttering your mix up with too many effects. Mono effects can sometimes just be as effective as stereo effects.